I don't know about you, but forgiveness has been my biggest challenge in life. And I've sought out how to forgive when it comes to learning through my spiritual practices, through my psychological tools and trainings, through my support system, through mentors. And it's just been the hardest thing for me to learn and reconcile within myself. When I went towards my spiritual teachings, for example, my core foundational spiritual teacher is Jesus. I try my best to embody the teachings of Jesus. And boy, if you do the same, you know it's a lot of work. It's a lot of development of your virtues. It's a lot of development of your emotional intelligence, and a lot of forgiveness that comes with it. The quote that I have in mind to share with you today is the quote from Matthew 18:21-22 that says, how many times shall I forgive my brother or sister who has sinned against me? Up to 7 times? Jesus answered, I tell you, not 7 times, but 77 times. Wow. That's asking a lot. And I remember when I first read that, I was like, that's not going to happen. Are you kidding me? Because, you know, a reality is some people aren't that safe to constantly forgive. For example, if you are dealing with someone that has a personality disorder, like borderline personality, narcissistic personality, even antisocial or sociopathic personality disorder, giving that level of forgiveness may actually be threatening. But then there's also the other part of all relationships at some point will fail you, especially in your families. And that's the place I've had the hardest time forgiving, or in my communities, or people that I have to see over and over and over again. I'm sure you can relate to that. So just going back to thinking how I reconciled this is I ended up thinking about a practical way of like, okay, what would it look like to forgive, not be a people pleaser, not be a martyr, and not put myself in danger, but still follow my spiritual practice? And the answer there, the determining factor is growth. If there is growth with every single time of forgiveness, whether for yourself or for the other, then that is the person you want to forgive 77 times 7 times. Because guess what? However you put yourself out there in the world is what's going to come back to you. And that's a law of life. You know, Newtonian's third law of physics. For every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. Or in Buddhist teachings, karma, you know, or even Jesus said, what you sow, you shall reap, which we'll talk about in another video. But anyways, so in the case of, let's say I've been in a relationship with someone who unfortunately exercised some narcissistic abuse. And every time I tried forgiveness, it actually got worse. And it became more and more threatening. And it became incredibly scary at some point. And it taught me how to teach my clients to not allow for that to happen. That as soon as someone is showing up dangerous and they're getting worse and they're disregarding your boundaries and your needs and they don't have any personal accountability, that's something you want to consider walking away from. Now, this part takes a little bit more insight and self-development, the next part that I'm about to say. It's sometimes you need to forgive because you need to grow as a person. Just as you could be dealing with someone who has a personality disorder, you could also have certain distortions in your perception when it comes to people because of any abandonment, betrayal, or abuse or trauma background that you may have. It may create a sense of distortion where you think that people are constantly trying to hurt you. So it does require you to forgive multiple times for you to grow out of any potential distortions that you may have in order to be able to recognize if this is a safe relationship. Now, the third scenario is where you both grow. And that's where I feel that the teachings of Jesus was trying to teach us. The concept of forgiveness. In the grand scheme of things, when both people grow, that is the whole point of having fulfilling relationships. And when somebody else can forgive you multiple times for your quote-unquote trespasses or ways that you've hurt them, it feels really good. And because that comes from a place of love and kindness and understanding and holding you in a high vision, it will teach you, if you have it in you, if you have it in your heart, to also be just as forgiving to someone else. So I found that was the secret ingredient to Jesus' teaching of forgiveness, of 7 times, 77 times. It's growth of the other person, growth of yourself, and ideally the growth of both of you. Now, if there is no growth and it's getting worse with yourself or it's getting worse with the other, that's the time to walk away. Okay? Thanks for hanging out with me while I was doing my dishes and just reflecting on forgiveness. And I hope to see you in the next video. May peace be with you.